The New York Times puts out a piece explaining why conspiracy theorists on the right have nothing else to worry about because Hunter Biden is actually going to go pay his taxes. Please forget about the laptop. 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 In other news, another U.S. citizen is killed in Ukraine. As we sit here and wonder whether or not the U.S. will get pulled into this again. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. Even AOC Biscuit understands that a no-fly zone could mean an act of war. And we'll watch the video. Because why wouldn't we watch the video for something like this? And Boston's BLM leader and her husband are hit with federal fraud and conspiracy theory charges. Oh, and don't forget, get in the live chat. Get your friends in the live chat too. Get a good conversation going because today is the day that we read the live chat live on air and go back and thank everybody else who chatted in the live chat throughout the week. So, it is going to be all this and more. You're just mad you can't date me. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. We gotta give a shout out to the Game Chops channel because we haven't done that for a while and I keep using them. And I know that was the deal that they have. It's copyright free as long as you advertise for the channel there. So let's get that up in the live chat here for you guys because it's still a fun playlist to listen to. They're adding music to it, by the way. So let's put this up in here. That's a fun side of this. I already see Ron Helton is showing some dissent over what it is that could possibly happen here. Do you think we'll go to war over this? It's an American citizen, you guys. They're killing American citizens. We have to go over there. That's what the mainstream media might tell us. But that's what we see off of that. Let's get into it, though. We've got a bunch of stuff to get to, and I want to make sure to take some time and get to the live chat here for you guys. By the way, nice big list for you guys. Thank you for getting this much filled into my notebook here. For all this, you've been inviting your friends. We've been reaching out to people over on the Twitch side as well. So get some more people in here. Absolutely, spice up that live chat. I just threw one link out there to some people in a Discord server that I'm in because just like Midget B does in ours, whenever I see something, a news story that is remotely globalist or anything else like that, I throw the little Star of David on there on the news article. So I put the challenge out to these guys to just fill the chat with Stars of David. Maybe they'll come in here. They don't like that I do it in their Discord server, so they might come back out and do it for us here. So let's get started. Let's come back and do this. But before we get started, head on over, check out TurnsOmePagesProductions.com. TurnsOmePagesProductions.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs once we get started. It's only going to be a few weeks before I go on and sit down with Brian Nichols and do the name docs that most of you guys already know already. So come back out here, check that out, and then we're going to start getting the fundraiser out there. But don't let that stop you from checking out great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys, and a new upcoming project from one of our creators from Freedom Scoop, Britt Salt of the Freckles and Brit Show, who will be doing a new upcoming project with Sean Hickman. Details to come. Go and check that out. It's going to be a great time. And we've got some great people over there. And if you are in the know, you've already seen that Give, Set, and Go makes you put your first and last name out there, so that's why we're doing the name docs over on Brian Nichols. If it wasn't for that, this would already be out there, and I'd already be asking you guys to go and pump this out and show this everywhere you can, but until I name docs, we're not doing that. But still, for those of you in the know, if you want to help out, givesendgo.com/TurnsOmePages101. Go and check that out. It's going to be a great time. And you're really going to help us out. We're going to help us out paying a great web developer a little bit of seed money to start getting some advertisers in here, getting some articles written up here, and help making sure that some of the opinions out there. I want to make sure that the people that are out there help get paid for their work. I know it's not going to be a possibility at the beginning, but the more we can get on there, the better off we're going to be. Maybe go out and buy some articles from other freelance journalists here, but get this really going so we can get some advertisements up here and get started. So go check that out. Help us raise money for Turn Some Pages. There's a planning committee. We might even do a big fundraiser here for this, so we'll see what happens with that. But our goal is $2,000. If you can help us out with that, that would be awesome. Let's get into the finance and let's get started. Starting with the Dow. The Dow went up yesterday once again. It faltered a little bit at the beginning of the day, starting down, then rising, and then kind of falling out again. About noon my time, it started to rise and rise throughout the rest of the day, ending up 417.66 points to 34,480.76. That is up 1.23% throughout the day yesterday. So that's what we see coming on the industrials. Your Bitcoin, let's get a refresh on that. Your Bitcoin is down throughout the day yesterday, down to $40,555.70. That is down $394.60, or just shy of 1% down. So that's what we see off of that. Looking in at your scrap metal prices, copper is on the rise, steel is on the rise, and aluminum is on the fall. On the averages, looking in your individuals, number 1 bare bright copper wire is up. Number 1 tubing is up. Number 1 flashing copper is up. Number 2 tubing is down. Insulated wire is down. THHN wire is up. Romex is up. Brass is up. Brass shells are down on your steel. Conduit steel is down. Light iron is up. Number 1 steel is up. Cast iron is up. Rotors are up. Complete car is up. Shreddable steel is up. But stainless steel is down. Steel is strong right now. On aluminum, siding is up. Aluminum copper fin is down. Aluminum radiators are down. Cans are up. Sheet aluminum is up. Aluminum rims are down on your individual plays. Electric motors are down. Ballasts are down. Lead is down. Batteries are up. Catalytic converters are less mixed. Small foreign cat is down, but all other categories of catalytic converter are up. Compressors are down. Alternators are up. Carbide is up. Hard drives are down. Motherboards are up. Power supplies are down. Low-grade boards are down. PC tower is down. So that's what we see coming off of that. Let's flip in and see what IBD has to say for the morning. From Investors Business Daily, Dow Futures. Market rally gaining momentum. Tesla stock charges higher from Ed Carson. Dow futures fell Friday morning along with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures. The stock market rally continued to build momentum with a broad-based advance on Thursday. JNPR stock and Arista Networks are both flirting with early entries near their 50-day moving averages. Devon Energy rebounded bullishly from its 50-day, 10-week lines. Rambus cleared a new handle buy point, while ANTM stock is one of the several health insurers nudging into a buy zone. Meanwhile, Tesla reclaimed some key moving averages Thursday, but doesn't offer a clear early entry. Tesla, Anthem, and RMBS are on the IBD leaderboard. ANET is on the IBD 50. DVN is on the Big Cap 20. Juniper Networks was Thursday's IBD stock of the day. On the futures, Dow futures fell 0.7% versus fair value. S&P futures retreated 0.8%, and NASDAQ futures lost 0.9%. U.S. crude oil prices climbed slightly. The 10-year Treasury yield fell 5 basis points to 2.14%. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. This was a slightly cold and mechanical version of what we usually see here, so not a lot of information coming in before the futures report. I know they're trying to tell us that the stock market rally is trying to move here, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. I'm actually going to skip Seeking Alpha here because we got the cold and mechanical coming out of this one. Let's get right into the main news of the day so we can get some more news done and we can get to that live chat. Because again, I want to see what you guys are saying. And if it is sufficiently spicy or stupid, it will be read on air because it will raise the intellectual level of this program. So don't hold back, you guys. I want to see what it is you got. I know Quest Banding feels bad because I do a serious news show and he makes penis jokes all the time. But you know what? I like the penis jokes. Even if I say pray for Quest Banding, I still like the penis jokes. Let's get into it. So, one of the things that's going on here right now, and the LA Times started with this, is telling us to boycott Subway. Before we get into anything else, I just found this out right before we went live. Actually, I added this while we were live. But yes, boycott Subway is trending right now. So that means that, well, I'm probably going to go get some Subway for lunch. And I don't usually eat Subway because I got food poisoning off of there once. But I've been back there since they did the menu revamp. It's not bad. It's pretty good now. It's not great food, but it's better than it was. So, but they want you to boycott Subway because, oh, hello. Boycott Subway is trending. I'd find out why, but I'm too busy eating one of their subs. This must be on a beach somewhere. But apparently Subway is one of those that didn't leave Russia when the mainstream media tried to gin up support and get people to tell Subway to leave Russia. Subway said, no, we're going to stay in Russia. So, we stand with Ukraine, and I don't like being told what to do, so I'm going to go eat Subway for lunch today. By the way, best followers, primes, and viewers on mountviewers.com. Should we go there? Should we go check that out? Should we buy primes, subs, and followers? That sounds legit, right? Just go out and get a bunch of those. All right, from the New York Post. Hunter Biden's infamous laptop confirmed in New York Times report. So we're going to be looking at a little bit of this, a little bit of what's actually in the news here, and what the leftoids are trying to tell you about with this here. So that's kind of where we're going with this. So let's look at a few different angles that this is being investigated from. Starting with this one. A comprehensive report about the ongoing federal probe into Hunter Biden's tax filing published by the New York Times, a former newspaper, on Wednesday night, confirmed the existence of the first son's infamous laptop. In October of 2020, the Post exclusively reported on the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop that he ditched at a Delaware repair shop in April of 2019. You know, I still question that. I really do. The laptop's hard drive contained a trove of emails, text messages, photos, and financial documents between Hunter, his family, and business associates, detailing how the president's son used his political leverage in his overseas business dealings. The repair shop owner reported the laptop to the FBI, which seized the device and its hard drive. As part of their investigation into Hunter, the Times reports federal prosecutors have looked into emails between the first son and his former business associates that were recovered from the laptop. Some of the scrutinized correspondence was between Hunter and Devon Archer, who served with the first son on the board of the Ukraine energy company Burisma, the report said. Archer, who was sentenced last month to an unrelated fraud case, has cooperated completely with the feds in their probe into Hunter Biden, the Post has reported. According to the Times, the emails between Hunter, Archer, and others regarding their international business activity came from the from the files the publication obtained that appears to have come from the laptop abandoned by Mr. Biden in the Delaware repair shop. People familiar with the emails and investigation confirmed the authenticity to the Times. The laptop confirmation was included in the Times report that also revealed Hunter Biden paid off a tax liability of over $1 million, a year after he announced he was under investigation for defrauding the IRS. Hunter has been under investigation for failing to pay taxes since his father was vice president, but the inquiry broadened in 2018 to look into how his international business dealings intersected with President Biden's political career. There is a lot of stuff going on here, and I cucked down and I listened to Tim Pool yesterday because I was looking for something to listen to as I was finishing off work last night, and I noticed that headline, in classic Tim Pool fashion, with the clickbaity one capitalized word in there. But I listened to it and I sat down there and I realized that Vice News is now saying what I said at the very, very beginning. At the beginning. As soon as they started lining up tanks on the Ukrainian border, Tim Pool of Vice just said the exact same thing that I said when they started lining up the tanks. Because it's Ukraine, because of the laptop, because of Burisma. and because of special interests and the 10% for the big guy that are out there. Our current president has a conflict of interest in the current war that Russia is trying to foment and Ukraine is trying to pull us into. There is a big conflict of interest there. There is a massive conflict of interest there. You know, that whole side of, hey, you know, I told them, hey, if you keep this prosecutor on, you know, he's looking into my son. I love my son. He's looking into my son. You're not going to get the $1 billion. And I went back the next day and like, son of a bitch, they fired him. Ha 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 ha. There is a big conflict of interest going on here between Ukraine's State Department and our current president. He should not be the commander-in-chief of this particular conflict. Because of business dealings that were done, I'm willing to bet a lot of money that were done because the influence that Biden was pushing over the Ukraine at the time. Literally, if this would have been any other country, if they'd have gone into Estonia, Latvia, if Putin would have looked up and said, these are easier targets, I take these first. If they'd have been any other country other than Ukraine, I'd have said, okay, let's have the discussion about this. I still don't want to go to war, and I still don't believe all the propaganda. But I'm not that worried about it. But because it's Ukraine, because we all know, because impeachment 1.0 that they spread and flashed over every news network everywhere, forever. Because of the phone call, because of Erica Marshmallow, who's definitely not the whistleblower. There is a massive conflict of interest to this. And the worst part of it is that the next person to step up as commander-in-chief is Kamala Harris, who would probably love to go back to start a war to show us that she's got the same kind of balls as the big boys. This is dangerous, and I told you that. From the moment the tanks started coming up, from the moment the troops started going up here, this is dangerous. And now I'd like to know what kind of documents are in the Ukraine State Department as related to Hunter and Joe. I really do. From the Blaze, emails from Hunter Biden's laptop contain records that the Secret Service did not hand over to lawmakers. Interesting. For years, Republican lawmakers have sought Hunter Biden's travel records as part of a larger review of Biden's use of Secret Service protection while his father was vice president, but the Secret Service claimed it was unable to identify such communication for several years during which Biden received Secret Service protection, frustrating those efforts. However, emails from Hunter's laptop confirm that the Secret Service did coordinate Biden's travel during the years for which the Secret Service told Republican senators they could not find such communications. On January 18, 2022, Senator Grassley and Ron Johnson wrote to the director of the Secret Service requesting that the agency produce records involving Hunter Biden and his use of government-sponsored travel while he conducted private business. The letter complained that records previously provided to Congress contained inappropriate redactions and asked for unredacted copies of those documents. The lawmakers also demanded an explanation for why the Secret Service did not provide any communication records for the years of 2010, 2011, and 2013. Secret Service Director James M. Murray wrote back to the senators on February 14th, "The Secret Service works extensively with your committees and agreed to such parameters provided by your offices as to identify communications regarding Mr. Biden's travel. These search parameters did not yield communications for the years of 2010, 2011, or 2013, Murray said. But dozens of email records reported by Just the News appear to contradict what the Secret Service and Grassley told Grassley and Johnson. For example, Secret Service records show that between May 15th and May 17th, Biden took a trip to Mexico with Secret Service protection. The plans for the trip were discussed ahead of time in communications between the then Vice President's son and the Secret Service agents. Just the News reveals. Hunter, when you have some free time, I'd like to discuss the Monterey trip with you, Secret Service agent Yvonne de Cristoforo wrote to Biden on April 28, 2011. I have some specific information to provide you that we received from our Mexico City office. She added, "I know that you're out of the office this evening, but if you would contact me at your convenience, I would appreciate it." The email was contained on a Hunter Biden laptop that's now in FBI custody, just the news reported. It was one of 6 emails reviewed by the outlet that showed Biden communicating with his Secret Service handlers, including in the years for which the Secret Service did not hand over records. In some of the emails, just the news reported included subject lines like upcoming trip or all checked in that clearly identify them as emails related to Biden's travel. The Secret Service did not respond when asked why the communications were not turned over to senators. In statements to Just the News, both Grassley and Johnson sharply criticized the Secret Service for failing to provide these emails. So, that's interesting. Now, I could understand where the vice president or the president may not be able to reveal the records of what the two of them went. They have top secret clearance that a lot of members of the Senate do not have. So, directly for Barack and Joe, and now at this point Kamala, as well as Donald and Mike Pence, for them I can understand Secret Service records not being turned over, but for Hunter, who shouldn't have any sort of top secret clearance whatsoever, no, those records should be open, ready to be FOIA'd, ready to go. And I don't understand why they're not. Especially when we're years past the point. If this was like last year, I could maybe even see there being an issue coming up with that. But there is a lot more mystery coming out about this laptop than just what we're seeing off this. Let's actually see what the Times had to say about this. So first, from the New York Times Twitter account, Hunter Biden has paid off a significant tax liability, but a broad investigation into his business dealings that started as tax inquiries remained active. A grand jury is still seeking information about payments from around the world. That's pretty innocuous, right? Uh-oh, why is Rittenhouse trending? Why is Rittenhouse trending? Come on. Now you know I want to know about this. I got distracted. Yes, now they're complaining about the fact that he's using his crying for the gas meme. Alright, let's see what the Times had to say. Hunter Biden paid tax bill, but broad federal investigation continues. From Katie Benner, Kenneth P. Vogel, and Michael S. Schmidt. In the year after he disclosed a federal investigation into his tax affairs in the late 2020, President Biden's son Hunter paid off a significant tax liability even as a grand jury continued to gather evidence in a wide-ranging examination of his international business dealings, according to people familiar with the case. Mr. Biden's failure to pay all his taxes has been the focus of the ongoing Justice Department investigation. While wiping out his liability does not preclude criminal charges against him, the payment could make it harder for persecutors to win a conviction or a long sentence for tax-related offenses, according to new tax law experts, since juries and judges tend to be more sympathetic to defendants who have paid their bills. But Mr. Biden's taxes are just one element of the broader investigation stemming to the work that he did around the world. Hunter is a Yale-educated lawyer. His professional life has intersected with his father's public service, including working as a registered lobbyist for domestic interests, and while his father was vice president pursuing deals and clients in Asia and Europe. As recently as last month, the federal grand jury heard testimony in Wilmington, Delaware for 2 witnesses, one of whom was a former employee of Hunter Biden, whose lawyer was later subpoenaed for financial records that reflected money Mr. Biden received from a Ukrainian energy company. The investigation, which began as a tax inquiry under Obama admin, widened in 2018 to include possible criminal violations of tax laws, as well as foreign lobbying and money laundering rules, according to people familiar with the inquiry. So, you come up here, you look into this, and we are, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 7 paragraphs into this article, and we still haven't seen anything about the email. We come back down here. For President Biden, the long-running case is both politically and personally a fraud. Hunter Biden's work for Burisma Holdings, the Ukrainian energy company, became a flashpoint in his father's race in 2020 against President Trump and helped set off the events that led to Mr. Trump's first impeachment. Also correct. The elder Mr. Biden now oversees the Justice Department that's carrying out the investigation, and Hunter, who in recent years has pursued a career as a painter, money launderer, has acknowledged serious drug addiction and other problems during the period when he was seeking international business while dealing with illness and death of his brother Beau. I kind of want to see where it is that they talk about the laptop, because I know that they buried it. Yeah, right here. Last year, prosecutors interviewed Mr. Archer and subpoenaed him for documents and a grand jury testimony. The People said Mr. Archer, who was sentenced last month in an unrelated securities fraud case, in which a decision to set aside his conviction was reversed, had served with Mr. Biden's Burisma board starting in 2014. People familiar with the investigation said prosecutors had examined emails between Mr. Biden, Mr. Archer, and others about Burisma and other foreign business activity. Those emails were obtained by the New York Times from a cache of files that appear to have come from a laptop abandoned by Mr. Biden in a Delaware repair shop. The email and others in the cache were authenticated by people familiar with them and with the investigation. In some of the emails, Mr. Biden displayed familiarity with FARA and his desire to avoid triggering it. In one email, Mr. Archer, in 2014, Mr. Biden outlined his vision for working with Burisma. In the email, Hunter indicated that the forthcoming announcement of a trip to Ukraine by Vice President Biden, who is referred to in the email as my guy, but not by name, should be characterized as part of our advice and thinking, but what he will say and do is out of our hands. The announcement could really be a good thing, or it could end up creating too great an expectation. We need to temper expectations regarding that visit, Hunter Biden wrote. Vice President Biden traveled to Kiev, the Ukrainian capital, about a week after the email. So, in this, they've essentially said that the laptop and the emails are real. They're true, which, I mean, we've all known about this forever. But we're well over halfway into this article before they said that. It's a detail. They actually went through and investigated it, but they buried that. Because for the most part, a lot of people here, most of our 2-second news cycle culture stopped reading probably right about here. Here. They found out that he's going to go back and pay his bills, like, haha, see, there's no crime committed. It's not like the Trump crime family. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 24 paragraphs down. And they mentioned the fact that, oh yeah, by the way, we found out the laptop was legitimate. 24 paragraphs in. But hey, way up here at the top, no, we're going to step here and talk about the fact that, hey, Hunter paid his taxes. Good job. All right, from the Blaze. A little bit of reaction to that. Mainstream media journalists mocked over response to New York Times verifying Hunter Biden laptop. From Carlos Garcia. A mainstream media journalist was mocked and ridiculed on social media after he said he was surprised by the New York Times verifying the authenticity of the emails from Hunter Biden's laptop. The authenticity of the emails from a laptop abandoned by Hunter at a computer store was just ahead of the 2020 election became a contentious issue when the media derided the story as Russian disinformation. On Wednesday, the New York Times admitted that they were authentic and that there was no evidence to believe the Russians had planted any of them. Well, shit. I knew that 2 years ago. Jeez. The possibility apparently surprised Michael Isikoff, the investigative correspondent for Yahoo News. In the category of didn't see this coming, the New York Times confirms the authenticity of Hunter's emails derived from his laptop that had been previously dismissed as Russian disinformation, tweeted Isikoff. Yeah, well, according to the same people that were saying that the laptop was Russian disinformation, this program is also Russian disinformation. According to those people. Many on social media derided him over the comment. How did you not see this coming? Literally everybody saw this coming, responded Emily Zanotti of Fox News Digital. How did you not see this coming? You're in the news business and the evidence has been public for 18 months, replied businessman Joe Colangelo. I saw it in October of 2020 when we at the Daily Caller confirmed the email's authenticity, while you people had your noses shoved firmly up Joe Biden's ass, responded Greg Price. Yeah, I suppose that's one way to put it. And once again, you prove why no one should trust you. Hunter never denied it was his laptop. It was known from day one. It was really his. It was known from day one that the Russian disinformation line was simply a BS ploy to help Biden win the election. Since this was damaging, read another tweet. Others on the left were angered at the New York Times for the admission. The Times is literally trying to rehab Giuliani smear-op. Wow, a new low, said one popular Twitter leftist. That popular Twitter leftist is the Horse Whisperer, with 406.2 thousand follows. So, yeah, I'm sure that the left is pissed off about this. Look, here's reality. There is more going on than meets the eye. And this goes right into the Ukrainian thing that we're going to talk about in just a second. There is stuff that's going on in the Ukraine that they're not telling you. And yet there is a concerted effort to get the U.S. involved in this war. And I'm willing to bet that a lot of that has to do with the fact that Mr. Hunter Biden was registered with no energy experience whatsoever to work with Burisma Holdings for $50,000 a month. And nobody came back and questioned that. And furthermore, if any of the rest of us tried to slip in and launder money through the Ukraine, or tried to get a prosecutor fired who was investigating this, we'd be in prison. Not the leaders of the free world. That's for sure. Let's grab one from CBS. James Hill, a Minnesota native who stayed in Ukraine to care for his partner, is second American killed by Putin's senseless war. There it is, they're killing Americans. Let's just drop everything and go into war. Isn't that what you want, Vladimir Zelensky? Isn't that what you want? Just tell us more about the Americans that are getting killed over there, and we'll just drop everything and go over there. Isn't that what you want? From Tucker Reels. Russian forces have been blamed for the death of a second U.S. citizen in Ukraine after the war broke out. Minnesota native James Hill remained in the besieged northeastern Ukrainian city of Chernihiv, very near Russia's border, to look after his partner Irina, who was being treated at a local hospital for multiple sclerosis. An advisor to Ukraine's Interior Ministry identified Hill as one of the victims of a Russian attack on Thursday morning that targeted people lining up for food in Chernihiv. There were conflicting reports as to whether the civilians were hit by gun or artillery fire. The city is among the major population centers in eastern and southern Ukraine that have been decimated by Russian shelling for days as Vladimir Putin's ground forces remain bogged down by logistical problems and fierce Ukrainian resistance. Hill's sister, Katya, in Pennsylvania, told CBS Pittsburgh that her brother had been living in the capital city of Kiev but traveled to Chernihiv for his partner's MS treatment. When I was warning him about the dangers, he did not feel that the world would let this happen. Because my parents raised us to see the good in people's hearts. And that's how he lived. Katya to... Oh my god. Okay. Back up. You're in the middle of a war zone. The State Department has told you to get the hell out of this country. And you want to see the good in people's hearts, and that's how you live. Now I understand. Or especially if your wife is sitting out here, I don't know if it's wife, girlfriend, or whatever the situation is. They say partner in the article. But if your wife is in the hospital, hooked up to machinery, and can't be moved because she's in the middle of an MS treatment, and I dated a girl with MS, so I don't know what the treatment is that they were doing with her that was so important. I know that, I mean, for the most part, it was medication and occasional shots for Tanya when her and I were dating. That's what it was for her, but I don't know if this is an advanced stage and she's got to be in for surgery or something in the middle of this. I don't know the details of the MS surgery. I just know that that's what they claim that he was over there for. Speaking overnight to CBS News, she said the last time she spoke with her brother, she could hear explosions in the background. He was going on a daily basis, searching for food. The hospital lost electricity. The hospital lost gas. There was no heat, she said. My brother was a peacemaker, and he was a giver, and he just felt everyone in the world should love each other. Folks, I want to see the end to war. I do. I will do everything I possibly can to try to see world peace. I'm a pacifist myself. I have no interest in causing harm to anybody else. But there is a 9mm Smith & Wesson in my truck at all times. Loaded. And a large knife in my pocket, which for the most part gets used as a tool for cutting open boxes. And occasionally when I go to the gym, I do punching drills. I want there to be peace. I want people to stop fighting, and I never intend to harm anybody else. But that doesn't mean that I trust the rest of the world to do the same, and that I'm just going to go out and be completely unprepared, or put myself in a situation where I could possibly get killed. There's a difference between wanting peace and being stupid about it. I'm sorry. Oh my god. This throws me into a rage. Alright. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken confirmed earlier Thursday that another American had died in Ukraine, though he provided no further detail. A State Department spokesperson confirmed the death had occurred on March 17th and offered our sincerest condolences to the family on their losses. Hill, who leaves behind the 2 children, was the second U.S. citizen to die in Ukraine since Russia launched its invasion. Filmmaker Brent Renaud, 50, was killed when Russian troops opened fire on him and colleagues in the town of Irpin, just outside of Kiev, as they were traveling to film refugees on March 13th. One of his associates was injured in the attack. So with this, now we sit here, we see another, give peace a chance. I can stay in the war zone. I can stay in a war zone because there's good in people's hearts. They won't hurt me because there's good in people's hearts. And I'm just here to protect my lover, my partner. Again, this seems awfully convenient and a little bit staged, but, now we have to go back and talk about Brent Renaud, too. And how many more of these stories are just going to conveniently come out as Russia and Ukraine sit in a stalemate? And that's where we're at right now with this thing, too. For whatever reason, the Russians didn't come in and just steamroll over Ukrainians, as by every statistic and metric they should have. Yes, I understand there's a resolve in the Ukrainian people, but there are a lot of Russians. It's the same thing that I say with China. China can pull the ultimate Zerg rush because they don't give a fuck about their people. They can just start to keep throwing wave after wave of people into there, over and over again, saying you killed the enemy and you eat today. I'd be willing to bet as we get more and more deeper into this, we're going to see more stories like this. But we'll see what happens off of that. All right, from WCVB. Mass grandfather, hopeful daughter and grandson will leave the Ukraine war zone. Yeah, I'm hopeful too because they were warned 2 months ago to do that. I have no author given on this. Let's just turn that down so we don't get any more surprises. A Massachusetts grandfather who was returned to the war zone in Ukraine to help his daughter and 8-month-old grandson flee the country is hopeful his family will be able to leave on Friday. It's the second time Fitchburg's William Hubbard has been in Ukraine in recent weeks. I did what any dad would do, I guess, in this situation, said Bill Hubbard of Fitchburg. We first told you about his family story 2 weeks ago. Hubbard's daughter, Aislinn Hubbard, gave birth to her son, Seraphim, at home during a surge in the pinko-pox pandemic. It means Seraphim has neither a birth certificate or a passport. In Ukraine, because of COVID, many women have chosen to give home births, William Hubbard said, and when you have a baby at home in Ukraine, the pathways to getting a birth certificate is much more difficult. Hubbard and his wife Deborah spent weeks trying to get their daughter Aislinn and their grandson out of Ukraine before the fighting started. During his previous visit to Ukraine, Hubbard tried to arrange DNA tests to help prove Seraphim's U.S. citizenship. The State Department has now issued a letter appealing to officials in Kiev to allow the Hubbards to cross into Slovakia, where U.S. officials will do DNA testing and issue the proper documents. So that is in and of itself a little bit of a different situation, of course, because you do have to respect the other countries and their travel restrictions, obviously. This is the one possible illegal immigration the State Department cares about. What he should do, by the way, what this guy should do is fly to Mexico and just sneak across the border in the dead of night. That's what they should do. But let's actually see what the story is that they're saying off of this.
Tonight, William Hubbard.
Let's have a listen to what WCVB has to say.
We're at the mercy of the Ukraine.
All right, let's back this up first, too. All right. Click off the music for just a sec, and let's have a listen.
We're at the mercy of the Ukrainian government.
Tonight, William Hubbard, his daughter Aislinn, and her 8-month-old son are waiting in a government hostel 3 miles from the Slovakian border. This is a refugee center for families waiting for the proper documentation to leave Ukraine. In the Hubbard's case, little Seraphim was born at home, so he has no birth certificate or passport. It hasn't helped that some don't believe Aislinn, a 19-year-old petite ballet dancer, had a baby recently.
Even one of the border guards asked her, "Is that really your baby?"
But in the past 24 hours, the State Department has issued this letter and a DNA test to officials in Kyiv, asking them to allow the Hubbards to cross into Slovakia and into State Department custody. They are hoping tomorrow will be the day.
Best case scenario is they come in around 8 o'clock tomorrow morning and tell us that pack up your stuff, we're going to bring you to the border.
Until then, 3 generations of Hubbards pray for patience and safety.
there's still air raid sirens that we hear. Today, there was 3 helicopters that flew over. So we're still not safe until we're out of here.
The Hubbards have set up a GoFundMe page to cover the extensive costs of this harrowing evacuation. William Hubbard says his daughter and grandson are everything to him. He feels blessed they've come this far.
It's been a heck of an experience, I'll tell you that.
Now,
So, and I do understand where there could be some suspicion about that as well, but, you know, realistically, so at some point it looks like, especially as a foreign agent, even with the COVID pandemic, there are probably better ways to go about this, and now we're seeing why. And I don't necessarily agree with government intervention and doing stuff like this, but what I do understand is that not everybody has the same customs that we in the U.S. do either. So, when you're a guest in their country, you have to respect their country. Treat their country better than you treat your own. So that's one that's coming back up off of that. From the Daily Wire. Ukraine's UN ambassador accuses Russia of cosplaying the Nazi Third Reich to the Russian ambassador's face. From Virginia Kruta. Sergei Kislyak, Ukraine's ambassador to the UN, accused Russia of attempting to cosplay the Nazi Third Reich during a Thursday meeting of the UN Security Council. So, before we get into this, and we're actually going to be able to watch this, before we get into this, I do have to ask the question, is this conflict really just one side calling the other side Nazi and the other side calling the other side Nazi? Because now we have Ukraine saying that Russia is the Nazis, and since the beginning, Russia is saying they're in there to denazify Ukraine. I actually still have questions about why the Nazi thing came up in Ukraine too, because I don't understand it. I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of chats out there that explain it to me, but I don't understand it. But is that just what this is? It's just, you're a Nazi. No, you're a Nazi. No, you're a Nazi. It's like an LP convention. You're a socialist. No, you're a socialist. I'm the only real libertarian. No, you're a socialist. I'm the only real libertarian. Let's watch.
Why has the Russian Federation decided to cosplay the Nazi Third Reich by attacking the peaceful neighboring state and plunging the region into war? What are the reasons and what is the plan? And yesterday we got the answer. Killing Ukrainian children, 108 innocent souls so far. Let me quote again. Success in the strict accordance with the plans approved previously, according to Putin.
He decided to cosplay Nazi Third Reich. Russian ambassador Vasily Nebenzia, by a translator, who is at fault when it comes to destroying medical facilities in Ukraine, is something that we have many questions about. And the recount had to come back out there and put on that quote off of this. It's quite clear who is at fault, Putin and Russia. Let's listen.
It is not within their rules to attribute who conducted a strike against a medical facility. Now, on the issue of the attribution, who is at fault when it comes to destroying medical facilities in Ukraine is something that we have many questions about, and we'll revert to that.
Thank you, translator. Who's at fault when it comes, let's see, TRT World News Now says Ukraine says 110 people evacuated from multiple cities on Thursday. The humanitarian corridors, Interfax agency. Russia's UN envoy, Vasily Nebenzia, on Ukraine assault, denies Moscow bombed Mariupol theater, which I don't have anything on the stack about Mariupol, but I know that's the hot, contentious area right now. Accuses Nazi groups of not letting people leave. Western countries fueling conflict by providing weapons. I don't know what happened with Mariupol because I haven't looked into it yet. Allegedly, according to the chat, the Nazi group's thing is true. Would need to independently verify that for myself. And Western countries fueling conflict by providing weapons, absolutely true. They're bragging about it. But yeah, this is just getting to the point where, like I said, it's just, you're a Nazi. No, you're a Nazi. No, you're a Nazi. No, you're a Nazi. No, you're a Nazi. All right, that's what we see off of that. A couple of live blog updates for you here from CNBC. Pentagon says there was a 24-hour period with no shelling observed in Ukraine. U.S. accuses Russia of war crimes. From Jacob Pramuk, Amanda Macias, and Chloe Taylor. The U.S. Department of Defense said there was a 24-hour period with little activity and no observed shelling in Ukraine, according to an update posted Thursday evening in Washington. There were subsequent unconfirmed reports of explosions Friday morning in Lviv, a city in western Ukraine near the Polish border. Military reports on the ground remain difficult to confirm as the situation is fluid. Ukrainian officials have said Russian attacks across Ukraine have resulted in numerous civilian deaths over the past day. There are reportedly survivors in the rubble of a bomb theater in the besieged city of Mariupol. It emerged Thursday. More than 1,000 civilians were said to be sheltering in the building. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky delivered a scathing address to German lawmakers on Thursday morning, urging Germany to do more to help Ukraine. Let's see, another one here. Chinese state media continues to blame U.S. ahead of Xi Biden call. President Winnie the Pooh of China and U.S. President Houseplant-in-Chief are set to speak Friday evening, Beijing time. That's probably right about now, I would think. Chinese state media announced Thursday the reports did not specifically mention Ukraine by name. In the run-up to the call, Chinese state media have tacked away from primarily pro-Russian coverage of the war in Ukraine. Even Qin Gang, China's ambassador to the U.S., said upfront in an op-ed in the Washington Post, where democracy goes to die in darkness, on Wednesday that the conflict is not good for China and Beijing would have tried to prevent it if they had known ahead of time. But one of the consistent state media messages that has stuck to blaming the U.S. for making the tensions worse. People's Daily, the Chinese Communist Party's official newspaper, put a headline about the upcoming Xi-Biden call in a prominent spot on its website front page. On Friday, several lines below it was a headline for an editorial blaming the U.S. for holding double standards. So that's what we see off of that. That's where China is coming in off of this. But yeah, apparently there was a theater that was bombed in Mariupol and there are people inside. So pray for the people inside of there. I hope that they get out safely. As to what happens to them, that will depend on whether they are soldiers and aggressors, citizens, civilians. I don't know the details about that. I just hope that everyone comes out safely as possible. From Reuters. Top ex-Kremlin official quits post after condemning Ukraine war. No author given. Former Russian deputy prime minister who spoke out against the Kremlin's actions in Ukraine has quit as chair of a prestigious foundation after a lawmaker accused him of national betrayal and demanded his dismissal. Arkady Dvorovich, deputy prime minister from 2012 to 2018, became one of Russia's most senior establishment figures to question the war when he told U.S. media this week that his thoughts were with Ukrainian civilians. His comments prompted a senior ruling party lawmaker to demand that he be fired and to accuse him of being part of the fifth column of undermining Russia. Yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed. And we've watched this before. We saw the protests, which again, another country out-protesting the U.S. But we saw the protests. And this is really unpopular with the regular citizens over in Russia. Again, I'm not in a position to sit here and say who's in the right in this situation. A lot of you seem to think that Russia is in the right. A lot of you seem to think Ukraine is in the right. I'm not in a position to make that call because I don't have enough information about it. I don't. I have a lot of propaganda, and we read a lot of propaganda here. A lot of propaganda, especially because we typically stick to green check verified news sources, which unfortunately NewsGuard is a left-leaning outlet in and of itself, but we stick to green check verified news sources here. And a lot of them seem to have a vested interest in making Russia the enemy into this. Again, as I've mentioned before, because a lot of their viewers, a lot of the people that donate to them especially, have been propagandized to for 5 years that Russia is the root of all their problems. But yes, this is a very, very unpopular war on the ground in Russia. From the Washington Post, where democracy goes to die in darkness. This was fun. This was fun. And again, this goes right along with the pork package of the omnibus. Just like when they say Senate Republicans refuse to allow for $35 vial insulin. Well, yeah, it's because you have it attached to the $1.75 trillion Build Back Bullshit bill. If you want to see this, make a single line item. More than 24 Senate Republicans demand Biden do more for Ukraine after voting against $13.6 billion for Ukraine. And then the sub-headline. 31 Senate Republicans voted last week against the $1.5 trillion spending bill to fund the government, increase U.S. defense spending, and provide humanitarian and military assistance to Ukraine. In recent days, many of them have clamored for more weapons and more aid. We're actually not going to read this article. I archived it so we could see the sub-headline here. But this was from Mariana Alfaro and Eugene Scott. But that's just it. That's the thing. They tell you that they voted against the $13.6 billion Ukrainian. That's because you buried it in the $1.5 trillion spending package. That's the reason you did that. I bet you they, especially if they're demanding Biden do more, I bet you they wouldn't have voted against it if you'd have made it a single line bill. Just like with the insulin thing. You keep telling us Republicans are against $35 a vial insulin in spite of the fact that it was done by EO in the previous presidency. And Biden undid it on his first day, the very first day he sat in that chair. That was one of the first things he did, was undo the EO that made insulin $35 a vial. But I bet you if you introduced it as a single line bill with nothing else in it, you'd get unanimous consent across the Senate. From the Daily Wire. Even AOC Biscuit understands that a no-fly zone over Ukraine could mean World War III. From Tim Meads. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Chavez, D-Twitch, receives a lot of flack for her naive view of the world, or she would say, a democratic socialist perspective. But when it comes to a no-fly zone over Ukraine, enforced by the U.S., even AOC Biscuit understands that if it were to happen, the U.S. would essentially be thrust into World War III. On her Instagram account on Wednesday evening, Seabiscuit took the time to explain to her audience that if you're an American who does not want war with Russia, you should not support the no-fly zone. Well, unfortunately, a lot of her followers have been propagandized to think that we want war with Russia, so do keep that in mind. So, how long is this clip? Because I have one from Lydia from the Tim Pool Show. That's towards the end of it. That is a 15-second clip. I want to see how long this one is.
There are a lot of pundits.
Yeah, that is the same clip. Do we have a longer one, maybe?
Yes, that's...
No, we have a later one. Alright, so we'll use the ones, we'll save the one from Lydia. Thank you, Lydia, though, for putting that up there. We'll use the one from the Daily Wire, though, because she's got a second step off of this. But let's listen here. AOC explaining that a no-fly zone would effectively make the U.S. a direct participant in the war against Russia could result in a full-fledged war in Europe, which is absolutely correct. I'm a little blown away how correct that actually is. Let's listen.
There are a lot of pundits, journalists, and members of Congress using this term no-fly zone, except most Americans probably don't know that declaring a no-fly zone is essentially tantamount to a declaration of war. So if you're not comfortable with the United States declaring war against Russia, you're probably not comfortable with a no-fly zone.
This goes on, continues.
That's exactly right, because a no-fly zone requires that's exactly right, because a no-fly zone requires enforcement, and if the U.S. or NATO establishes it, then that means that they start shooting down Russian aircraft directly, opening the door for Russia to retaliate against those powers directly, opening the door to escalation between nuclear power.
There you go. Holy shit, we have signs of intelligence. From this person who didn't know how a garbage disposal worked 2 years ago. An actual sign of intelligence. And I will give credit where credit is due. I will not be so anti-progressive that when they say something right, I won't give them credit. I've extended that same courtesy to Ilhan. Broken clock, of course I say about that, but absolutely right. And that's the thing that, like, they don't get. No, we should just put the no-fly zone up. We'll do it, and we'll protect our allies over in Ukraine. Okay. How do you make a no-fly zone? Do you know how you make a no-fly zone? You fly fighter jets over the area that's a no-fly zone, and you shoot down anybody, civilian aircraft, foreign fighter plane, transport, diplomatic mission, anybody who is from the offending country. You shoot them down. That's how you enforce a no-fly zone. Now, if Ukraine wants to set up a no-fly zone with their advanced, vast Air Force capabilities, then they're welcome to do so. But if you get the rest of us to do it, then hey, that's when we start seeing problems, and we start seeing Mr. Putin, who's already shaken his nuclear fist at us, come back out and say, I tell you a beginning of this. Any Western country interfere, I shoot nuclear missile at them. Except I don't say I shoot nuclear missile. I say I punish them in ways world has never seen before. But absolutely, credit where credit's due. When she does something smart, we'll tell it. It's not very often. It's very rare. But we'll give credit where it's due. All right. I believe that's all that I have for the Ukraine stuff today. We still got 20 more minutes before we start looking into the live chat. So again, let's see if we can't gather up a bunch of people in here and make this chat as spicy as a YouTube live chat should be. Let's see if we can get kicked off YouTube. Let's see if you can find stuff that I won't say. But get some friends in here. We're about 20 minutes left. And remember, I'm going to say thank you to everybody who chatted throughout the week here. And we will catch some of your other live chats here, see what you guys feel about the news articles. So, let's move on here. Let's grab one from 10WBNS out of CBS, out of Ohio, out of Columbus. Mike DeWine responds to criticism over controversial constitutional carry law. From Brittany Bailey. Mike DeWine spent Wednesday morning celebrating the grand opening of a facility that will make machinery for GM's automated Ultium battery pack assembly lines. And yet all the stuff that goes into the batteries will still be mined by child slave labor in Afghanistan and Russia and Ukraine and China. But he was pressed on his decision last week to sign the so-called constitutional carry law. About half the states now have this provision, and I think this is consistent with the U.S. Constitution, the governor said. Once in effect, the new law will allow any legal gun owner to carry a concealed weapon without a permit. It also means drivers who are pulled over do not have to tell law enforcement they have a gun. I'm a little on the fence about that one. I think it's courteous that you should still do that. As far as being compelled to do so, I don't know, but, you know, that's going to lead to itchier trigger fingers on people who have, what's the word I'm looking for? People who are wearing the badge that have qualified immunity. That's the word I'm looking for, qualified immunity. And see, the people that have qualified immunity, I don't want them to have itchy trigger fingers. I don't like that idea. If you had qualified immunity, we'll talk. But I don't like the idea of giving these people a reason to have itchier trigger fingers when they can get away with it. That's just one reason many law enforcement organizations, including the Fraternal Order of Police, Capital City Lodge No. 9, oppose the legislation. President Gary Wolski argued the law does not put public safety officers first. DeWine said law enforcement agencies will have to make adjustments. Well, like I said, end qualified immunity. And there you go. Most police departments have told us that what they will do with that will simply become part of the protocol, that when a police officer walks up, there's always some questions that they're supposed to ask, that their department tells them to ask. That will probably be the first question that they'll ask, he said. The recent legislation is the second law DeWine has signed in the past 2 years that has been praised by Second Amendment supporters. Just last year, he signed the so-called Stand Your Ground law, which also drew criticism. Motherfucker! I'm gonna break into a house and might get shot. Because the people don't have a duty to retreat anymore. It all comes nearly 3 years after the deadly Dayton mass shooting, after which a large crowd chanted "do something" at the governor during a vigil. 10 TV asked the governor for a response to those who have called for action and have yet to see it. We're still asking the state legislature to take action on a bill, which I think is frankly a no-brainer, that simply is. It says that violent repeat offenders who commit most of the violent crime today, if they're in possession of a gun, a judge should have the ability to put them away for at least 10 years, he said. That's a very simple bill. I'm asking the state legislature to take action on that bill. What we're seeing in our cities, but not just our cities, but our communities across the state, is the violence that's occurring is predominantly from people who have committed violence in the past. It's pretty simple. We need to go after these people. That bill is pending in the state legislature. It needs to be passed. That's common sense. And even the founders thought that criminal lunacy, your rights didn't extend to you at that point. And if you are a repeat violent offender under the auspices of the 18th century, you would have been considered a criminal lunatic and would not have the right to keep and bear arms, or the right to vote for that matter. So that's what we see off of that. From the Blaze, more AOC biscuit. AOC demands consequences for big oil profiteering. Industry claps back. With an auto-generated advertisement from the internal news source. Industry claps back with an economics lesson from Chris Pandolfo. Progressive Democrats and socialists are accusing oil companies of profiteering, and they're demanding they face consequences for high prices at the pump, as the price of crude fell below $100 a barrel on Monday and continued to decline on Tuesday. But the industry has fired back, saying these Democrats are grandstanding instead of proposing solutions to the gas crisis. You know, broken clock. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Chavez, D-Twitch, on Monday responded to MSDNC host Stephanie Ruley, who asked what's going on with gas prices averaging $4.32 a gallon on Monday, while the price of crude oil dropped 8% and fell below $100 a barrel. Profiteering, she said, and there should be consequences for it. Fellow squad member, Representative Ilhan Omar D. Somalia, echoed her comments, writing, "Big oil CEOs need to be held accountable for profiteering. This cannot stand." And another congressman, Mondaire Jones, accused oil companies of price gouging and said Congress must pass legislation to stop it. Their comments drew a harsh rebuke from the American Petroleum Institute, which said the American people are looking for solutions, not finger pointing. And yet, all we're getting is finger pointing. The price at the pump that Americans are currently paying is a function of increased demand and lagging supply, combined with the geopolitical turmoil resulting from Russia's aggression in the Ukraine. API Senior Vice President of Policy, Economics and Regulatory Affairs Frank Masciarola explained in a statement to The Blaze. Lawmakers should focus on policies that increase U.S. supply to help mitigate the situation rather than political grandstanding, and that does nothing but discourage investment at a time when it's needed the most, Masciarola said. See, here's the thing. Now, yes, I understand that your diesel trucks can't stop running, and they will jack their prices back up. So they're a captive market to the fuel markets. But see, here's the thing with fuel companies. They understand, for the most part, when gas gets to $3, $3.50, $4, $4.50, $5 a gallon. When gas gets to that point, people drive less. And while they make a big chunk of money off the big diesel trucks that bring you everything, the vast majority of profit that goes to the fuel companies comes from what you put in your Civic, what I put in my F-150, what you put in your Subaru, what you put in your Suburban, what you put in your Dodge. That's where the vast majority of their profit comes from. That's where the vast majority. So when the majority of these people don't drive as much, the big oil CEOs don't get paid as much. And I'm telling you right now, when gas was low enough, when oil was low enough, that they could sell the gas at 92 cents a gallon in some places, like down the road from over here, these oil CEOs were happy guys because they were getting about the same percentage off the top as they were when gas was at $4.50 a gallon, but people were buying a fuck of a lot more of it. So that's what we see off of that. From CNN, Moderna seeks FDA authorization for second COVID-19 booster shot for all adults. Is it all adults? I have a question. I don't have any of my shots. Do I fall into this all adults thing? From Catherine Dillinger. Moderna announced Thursday that it's asked the U.S. FDA for authorization for a second booster shot for everyone 18 and older. Moderna is seeking an amendment of the FDA's emergency use authorization for its Pinkpox vaccine to allow for a fourth vaccine dose for any adults who have gotten the initial booster for any of the authorized or approved vaccines. The request includes adults 18 years of age and older and was made to provide flexibility for the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and healthcare providers to determine the appropriate use of an additional booster dose of mRNA 1273, including for those at higher risk of COVID, due to age or comorbidities. The company said in a news release this submission is based in part on recently published data generated by the US and Israel following the emergence of Ermagerd. On Tuesday, Pfizer, and BioNTech, makers of the mRNA Pinkpox vaccine used in the U.S., submitted a request to the FDA for emergency use authorization of an additional booster of their Pinkpox jab, but that application was for only adults 65 and older. So Pfizer is looking to line their pockets a little bit more. Moderna is looking to shove those pockets full of cash. Hey, U.S. government, shove us flush with more cash. Go buy more of these useless vaccines. Oh, I'm sorry, we can't say that on YouTube. These perfectly safe, legal, and effective vaccines. Buy 330 million more doses of these vaccines. Please, shove money in our pockets. We'll make sure you're taken care of when the time comes. So, yep. That story is going to come out pretty soon. Well, why haven't you got your second booster? Are you some kind of bigot or something? From the Hill. This was fucking hilarious. Stacey Abrams makes cameo as United Earth President on Star Trek Discovery. From Michael Schnell. So apparently they have solved all kinds of different afflictions and different social problems by the 23rd century in Discovery? I haven't watched Discovery, so I have no idea. But apparently they've solved all kinds of things by the 23rd century. They just haven't solved obesity yet. Failed Democratic gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams has beamed up to a much higher office, making a cameo as president of the United Earth on season 4 finale of Star Trek Discovery. The former state lawmaker is a known fan of the Star Trek brand. She previously hosted a virtual fundraiser with cast members for now Georgia Senators John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock, and took part in a Track the Vote to Victory event to drum up support for then Democratic presidential House Plan in Chief. But Abrams' fandom reached warp speed Thursday when the most recent episode of Paramount Plus's Discovery. I can't wait to hear Razorfist talk about this. I can't wait for that one. That's going to be hilarious. Nothing to discuss, Abrams, as president, told Federal Federation President Lara Rilak, played by Shala Horstal, towards the end of the episode, according to Deadline. United Earth is ready to join the Federation, and nothing could make me happier to say those words. So, I actually toyed around with the idea of watching Discovery, even as bad as it is, because the showrunners came out and admitted right at the beginning that they were trying to piss off Republicans, which I am not one. But I want to see what the hype is all about, because I can't judge it. It's one of the things is I can't judge stuff unless I've seen it myself. They tell me it's terrible. They tell me it's horrible. I didn't hate Picard. I came away from Picard with a lot of questions. That I will admit to. And it's not the best Trek series by far. That honor still goes to Deep Space Nine. But I didn't hate Picard, so I thought to myself, how bad can Discovery be? And then I saw this shit. Paradise said that she would love to see Abrams appear on another episode of the show, but she noted that the gubernatorial candidate is certainly busy doing other things. Like what? This is hilarious, by the way. This is a blatant display of the fact that big money, big companies are in the pockets of Democrats right now. You know, the Democrats on ground tell us that they hate billionaires and billionaires are causing all their problems. And then the billionaires at Paramount Plus come back and put their favorite politician on the screen and, oh my God, it's Star Trek. Oh, I'm totally going to vote for Abrams now. But that's what we see off of that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, this one. So we watched this, and we'll watch it again, just to remind you of what it is that this chick said. But somebody made a rebuttal, so we'll listen to that as well. So let's have a review of what the White House told TikTok influencers from Libs of TikTok.
Why is gas so expensive, and why is the United States inflation rate at a 4-time decade high? I had the opportunity to ask the White House why gas down the street is $7, and here's what they said. The obvious reason: we're getting out of a 2-year pandemic. When use goes up, price goes up. But the call was predominantly about Ukraine and Russia, so how does that relate? Russia is one of the top 3 producers of oil, and it is actually their #1 revenue source. Now, with Putin starting this horrific fight between Ukraine and Russia, nobody wants to work with him and do an international trade. So, with people being scared of war and limited resources...
This scripted idea that this woman has no idea what she's talking about and is basically being told. I mean, you just listen to the thing and you want to say, blink twice if you're being held hostage. Blink twice if there's IRS agents at your door threatening to audit your parents if you don't say exactly what it is that they want you to say.
Prices are bound to go up as well. For the people who can't pay $7 for a gallon of gas, there's an app called Gas Buddy that shows you the cheapest gas near you, as well as a link in my bio to donate to the misplaced refugees of Ukraine. Why is gas so expensive and why?
Blink twice if you're being held hostage by the government. But here's the rebuttal. This is from Mira, Millennial Other.
Why is gas so expensive and the United States inflation rate at a near 4-decade high? I had the opportunity to use my brain, and here's what I came up with. The obvious reason is that this administration is a monarchy machine hell-bent on destroying American energy independence. But apparently this call was predominantly about Russia and Ukraine. So how does that relate? My best guess is that since Biden has apparently pissed off literally everyone in this country with a brain that at least kind of works as designed, they are at the point where obviously this is all Putin's fault. Now, with people unable to afford enough gas to go get toilet paper, we are quite literally doubling down now. And so, just FYI, if you're even thinking about questioning this, accept your fate now. You're a Russian asset. It's going to be where it's at. So, even with Psaki unable to justify this, there is, circling back on this one, that's where it's at. And so, it's Putin's fault. You question it, you're a Russian asset. And, your best bet is to just stop being poor and get a Tesla, man. My advice, though, if you genuinely believe any of this bullshit, is, I just hope you seek professional help. And I'll end with a shout out to Prime Minister Joe Manchin.
I know it was a little bit hard to hear. She apparently doesn't know how to mix the volume on her TikTok, but regardless, that's what you're saying. And yeah, if you question this, accept your fate. You're a Russian asset. Unless you are fully in the tank for Ukraine, you're a Russian asset. You're spreading Russian propaganda. If you question anything about this narrative, you're Russian. And by the way, all the gas prices, stop being poor, okay? Thank you, Mira, by the way. I think I followed you, didn't I?
Why is gas
I did.
so expensive and the United States inflation?
That is at Millennial Other if you guys are interested in following this chick. Dibs. I see everybody. Time to slide into her DM. She is cute. I like that. I like her. All right. That's what we have off of that. Let's grab one from CNN. Some midterms news. Dr. Oz vows to renounce Turkish citizenship if elected to the Senate. From Alex Rogers and Michael Warren. Good. I think everybody should be renouncing their dual citizenship. But we can't talk about the dual citizenship of most of Congress because, YouTube has anti-Semitism rules. From CNN's Dr. Mehmet Oz, who is seeking the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania, said Wednesday he would renounce his Turkish citizenship if elected, after one of his top primary rivals questioned his allegiance to the United States. Yeah, I wouldn't say that too loud around people in Congress about dual citizenship. My dual citizenship has become a distraction in this campaign, the former daytime TV personality said in a statement. I maintained it to care for my ailing mother, but after several weeks of discussions with my family, I'm committing that before I'm sworn in as the next U.S. Senator for Pennsylvania, I will only be a U.S. citizen. On Tuesday, the website Politics Pennsylvania reported that Oz had said that he would keep his Turkish citizenship. Well, apparently Fanning's not seeing that. Let's do that quick. I see her. you go, Fanning. On Tuesday, the website Politics Pennsylvania reported that Oz had said that he would keep his Turkish citizenship, even if it forced him to forego security clearance as a senator. The Oz campaign denies that the candidate said that, but did not provide CNN with audio of the exchange, which took place during a news conference at Harrisburg. There appears to be no requirement that elected members of Congress renounce their citizenship, although they should. Although you can't say that because of the dual citizenship country that most of them have. Oops. Did I say that out loud? There appears to be no requirement that elected members of Congress renounce their citizenship of other countries in order to attend classified briefings. Nonetheless, primary rival David McCormick, a former hedge fund executive, yeah, that's exactly who we need in Congress, has been attacking Oz over his dual citizenship. If there's anybody that could possibly be worse for Pennsylvania than Dr. Oz, it's going to be a hedge fund executive. Which Oz says he retains in order to care for his mother in Turkey, a NATO member. Before Oz issued a statement, the McCormick campaign organized a press briefing Wednesday with Alaska GOP Senator Dan Sullivan, who said that it was inconceivable that a senator could forego attending classified briefings when asked why a senator would have to renounce his dual citizenship to have the necessary security clearance. Sullivan said he was unsure. So, yeah, he's definitely going to come back and do this, so I think he should, and I think everybody else should too. That's one of the few requirements, well, no, there are a lot of requirements I think that people should have to run for Congress. And one of them should be the fact that they should have to renounce the citizenship of any other country. And of course, there's my big pet project of if you have any stocks whatsoever, you should be ineligible for Congress. You should be selling off all of your stocks, all of your bonds, all of your business interests in order to be in the body that makes laws that will affect your rivals, your business interests, your stocks, and your bonds. I could do an entire hour on that. Who do I know in finance? We might have to pull across the board together again because I want to have this discussion now. If you guys know anybody who's really good in finance, give them to me. I want one more conservative leaning, one more libertarian leaning in both male and female. So 4 people. Nominate them if you want to see it across the board. We'll get that set up because now I want to talk about that. But that's what we see off that. It's already after 9. So let's get a couple more of these out of here. And then we will finish everything else back up on Monday. Citigroup to cover travel expenses for abortions as U.S. states curb access. From Reuters. I will officially never have money or a mortgage or a loan through Citigroup ever. They can do whatever they want with their money. I'm not going to tell the government to regulate down on them. They just don't need my business anymore after this. Citigroup has started covering travel expenses for employees. Oh, it's only for employees, but still, come on. Who go out of state for abortions because of a newly enacted restriction in Texas and other places, becoming the first major U.S. bank to make that commitment. This is going to go on to a rant that we're after 9 o'clock already for, and I don't have time for. But this just gave me more reason to not put money in Citigroup. The new policy is in response to changes in reproductive health care laws in certain states in the U.S., the bank said late on Tuesday in a public filing ahead of its annual shareholders meeting in April. The filing said the travel benefits are to facilitate access to adequate resources and did not specifically mention abortion. Citi will cover transportation and lodging for employees who need to leave states such as Texas for abortions, according to a person familiar with the matter. Citi has taken stances on controversial issues before, including in 2018 when it enacted restrictions on its clients who sell firearms, following several U.S. mass shootings. Yeah, there you go. If you need another reason to not put your money into Citigroup, there it is. When somebody tells you who they are, believe them. All right, what else do we have here? This is a speech that was given by Chuck U. Schumer to Rachel Maddow. I think this is older, because remember, Maddow's not on MSDNC anymore. But I thought this is worth reviewing. This will help some understand why Democrats are such disastrous failures and have nothing but corruption and the destruction of America on their minds. Anything to line their pockets with hardworking Americans' tax dollars. Let's listen.
It might be a good idea for President Biden to call a climate emergency.
Why?
Because it relates to what you're saying. Then he can do many, many things under the emergency powers of the president that wouldn't have to go through, that he could do without legislation. Now, Trump used this emergency for a stupid wall, which wasn't an emergency. But if there ever was an emergency, climate is one. So I would suggest that they explore looking at climate as an emergency, which would give them more flexibility. After all, it's a crisis. It's a crisis.
So you're talking about passing major climate legislation through the reconciliation
Yes.
process. Pressuring the president or asking the president to
Just
invoke
asking,
emergency powers?
let them look at it. You know, I have a lot of faith in that they'll make a good and right decision.
That sounds to me, in terms of the way you are thinking about that, I know you're thinking about a lot of different things at once, but it sounds like climate is central.
Domestically, on another subject, the Congressional Progressive Caucus recommendations for executive action are out, and they're asking for a decision to declare a climate emergency and ban all U.S. exports of oil. Is that something the president is thinking about doing?
There are a range of really good ideas out there. President's looking at all of them, but I don't have anything to predict for you at this point in time.
So, and this is one of the big things that's going on with this too. Congress wants to abdicate their responsibility to make the laws. If Chuck Schumer wants to set up this export ban, then pass the law. Propose the law. Propose a bill. That's what you're there for. But see, the thing of it is they want the presidency to do it unilaterally, because that's a person who's represented by the entire country. And a lot of the people that would have to go back and vote on this would have to go back to their districts and explain why they took money out of their districts. So, yeah, they want to line their own pocket with the alarmism, tax the shit out of everybody, skim 95% of it off the top for themselves, and do it through executive action rather than legislate it. Because, like I said, a lot of them cannot do this and go back home. And a lot of it's the same thing that goes along with the abortion argument that goes along, that we just saw, that failed in the Senate already. The reason it's never been proposed as a law is, even as Democrats, a lot of these people can't go home after they make this law. All right. And we will hold off on these last 5 here, but I wanted to throw this one more in here towards the end, and then we'll do live chat for the day. So, reading from Twitter, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the Hulk is green from a potent accidental dose of gamma rays. Actually, Bruce Banner would have died within days from organ failure. Thanks, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I bet you are a blast to go to the movie theater with. I bet you're so much fun to go see a sci-fi movie with anywhere. And I bet you it's even worse if somebody invites you over and to watch a movie at home. I bet you're a blast for that. True story. I know people that are related to Mark Ruffalo. I don't know Mark himself. I've never met him myself, but I know people who are related to him. He grew up in Kenosha. All right. And with that, we're going to do live chat for the day, so hang out for just a second here as we check in with everybody who chatted through the live chat throughout the week here. On Monday, we had Quest Fanning, Arvolt, Ron Helton, Sullied Blue, Peed My Pants just now. That's an interesting one that popped in over on Twitch. Thank you for joining us for a little while. Chilaga 1984, Blind Fear, KTZed, and Randy Crush Saga. On Tuesday, we had Ron Helton, Sully Blue, Chilaga 1984, Arvolt 24, Quest Fanning, Highleaf, Randy Crush Saga, and Bunning CEO. Another new name. I think we had a new name almost every day this week. No, we didn't have one yesterday, but we had a new name every other day this week. Wednesday, we had Quest Fanning, Randy Crush Saga, Ron Helton, Highleaf, A Gaines P, Sully Blue, Slayer Darth, another new name. Slayer Darth followed us. Chilaga 1984 and Bloody Ukraine War. Yesterday gave us Ron Helton, Quest Fanning, KTZed, Arbolt, Chilaga 1984, Randy Crush Saga, MK Ultra, Highleaf, and A Gaines P. Let's move up to the top here. Let's see who's been chatting here today. Today we've got Quest Fanning here. Ron Helton is here. Good morning, fellow Jad here, fellow Ed Heads. Morning, Quest. Ron Helton with the "We will assimilate you." If you're in a war zone, you're not guaranteed safety. No reason to go to war for stupid people. We've got, of course, the music link up there. I love this this live stream of music here. You guys should check it out. Arbolt is lurking with the Ozzy Osbourne quote: Generals gathered in their masses. Fanning says, I was in a Zoom with Bobby Joe and a few other folks last night. She's got a great sense of, yeah, she's a blast. She's a riot. I was supposed to have a 45-minute call with her for setting up Turns of Page Productions, and we wound up talking for like 3 hours. And then she came back and did my show too. She's pretty awesome. I like Bobby Joe. We like Bobby Joe. We want to make sure she gets paid. Best followers, primes, and viewers on mountviewers.com. Should we check it out? Arvel, wait, JJ Bonzu, tell me more. Ron Helton says, I think Coke industry said they weren't leaving either. Yeah. And we'll be hearing about that come next election time, when everything that a Republican does is blamed on Koch brothers! Ron Helton says, impeach Harris and Biden, most corrupt administration ever. Hear, hear. Chilaga is hungover. I think Chilaga needs to go hang out with Beam Me Up Mr. Scott, and Mr. Scott will teach him how to hang all night. So I'm going to go check on Mr. Scott. Carbs is here with the Apu. Is that? No, that's Pepe. The Pepe sticker. Driving by. Thank you, Carbs. Randy Crush Saga is here. Good morning. Good morning. We've got the Waltons good morning going on here. Ron Helton. They're ripping babies out of incubators. Randy says, I participated in Walk for MS once. Arvold. Oh, I stepped away. Ed's glasses came out. Oh, I was... Just give peace a chance, that everybody's got good in their hearts, and I'll be safe in Ukraine, because they'll see me and they'll know that I know that they have good in their hearts. If that's true, by the way. And again, with a Minnesota native, I question that, especially with the concerted effort to try to get us into that war. Ron, I'm going to say that's probably close to YouTube terms of service. So I don't think we can do that about capturing Zelensky and stuff like that. I think that's I think that will run afoul of Mrs. Wojcicki. Quest Fanning says Kiev or Cleaver. Ballistics don't know about your heart. Ron Held says, when at the firing range, don't become one of the targets. Quest Fanning says, when I hear words like Slovakia, I think about yummy ethnic food. I've never had Slovakian food. I don't know that we have a lot of Slovakians here in southern Wisconsin. I might have to go to Chicago for that, which presents its own set of risks. Fanning says Zelensky quoted Martin Luther King Jr. and Congress applauds. Meanwhile, Ukrainian blacks can't escape because of segregated housing. That's interesting. Some explanation on some of the Nazis in Ukraine. Like I say, I don't know enough about that to really opine on that. I know somebody else on Twitter asked about that too the other day. Let's see. It's something to do with the Azov Brigade, so I'll have to look into that over the weekend. Karb says, the Damor was the only hollow created by Bolsheviks for Lebensraum. Thank you for separating that the way that it is, too, because I'm sure that because we're restreamed out onto YouTube, that is probably run afoul of what Mrs. Wojcicki would let us say. That one 4-syllable word. Ron Helton said, MK Ultra is here, by the way. Ron Helton says, yep, and Lindsey Graham was a key person in supplying weapons to these Ukrainians. He should be in cage awaiting trial. Yes. Yes, he should. Big guy still gets his 10%. Randy says, Russia is now public enemy number 1 due to not being down with the globalist agenda. Randy says, I think Republicans should come out officially saying they're against forcing insulin to be cheaper, since everyone in a poor country with diabetes will die as a result of a surge in their price. Like it or not, we subsidize the cheap prices in other countries. I think they should just introduce it as a standalone bill and let the chips fall where they may. Ron says, any member of Congress who suggested a no-fly zone should be immediately removed from Congress. They are morons. Dangerous morons. We got some broken clock jokes going on here. Randy says, I vote that anyone who needed that explained not be able to vote anymore. It's possible. Our vote with the triple parentheses. There are other things happening? Yes. Yes, there are. Randy says, is there a state where cops don't ask you if you have a weapon? I don't think so. I've only ever been stopped in 3 states, so... those are the only 3 that I know about. Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Massachusetts. Sussy Baka Walt says, let's get down to brass tacks. We should lower the minimum wage. We should. I don't believe in a minimum wage. I think the market will correct for themselves. I think that there's an argument to have to keep people from undercutting and destroying job volatility and opportunity. There's an argument to be had there, but I mean, no, we can't get into that because again, that's Susan bait if I go that direction. Never mind. Ron says, damn, she's broken again. Market dictates the price that refiners have to pay. Randy says, I was washing my car and brushing my teeth with gas when it was under $1 a gallon. Maybe don't do that. Especially given the fact that it was like June and July when it was that way. And it gets warm and fumes and sparks. And yeah, maybe don't do that. Randy points out the fact that in the Discovery timeline, she's the president of an isolationist Earth that can no longer travel in deep space. I don't know about that because I've never seen Discovery, but I will take your word for that for now. Ron says she'd be more appealing if she had a brain, just saying, this TikTok chick. MK says I should go and ask out the girl, the second TikTok one. Let's see. Beam me up, Mr. Scott is here. Don't ban Mr. Scott. We'll let him sober up. We'll make the decision after that. McLeod says, I may be Irish, but I'm not stupid. Brandon, potato of the U.S. Ron says these damn climate alarmists line their pockets with green money. Yup. Neil on the grass Tyson. There you go. I like that one. Neil probably prefers Looney Tunes, says Ron Helton. No, I don't know Ruffalo. I know people who know Ruffalo. I've never met Mark himself. I've met a lot of other Ruffalos, though. They're everywhere in that town. I haven't seen the Adam Project yet. I'm interested. I'm curious. Mostly because of Jennifer Garner. Seawall is here. Beat me up, Mr. Scott has a date in 45 minutes. Nice. Oh, I'm entertained. And we can all go and fuck ourselves. This must be R-rated conservative. Maybe I'll close out the show like that, to give a shout out to him. Good luck, Mr. Scott. That's amazing. Oh, this is great. Quest Fanning says Czechoslovakian food. Yeah, there's no Czech places around here. My spice is next. Truthful, though. What did I miss? Did I skip one? Nose jobs for all. Alright. Fanning says, remember Jeff Garland talking about ruining a 900 number sex line by talking about potatoes? And Shalaga says, Jennifer Garner in the Adam Project is the best wife character. She's overly supportive of Ruffalo's character. It's weird. Well, I guess I'll have to see it. I like Jennifer Garner. I actually relatively very much enjoy all the movies and the range of stuff that she's been in. Like, you go from being a spy to 13 going on 30 within a couple of years of each other. You go from being a dangerous spy on TV to fun, executive, feel-good film in just a couple of years. That's talent. Who is beam me up talking shit to? He talks shit to everybody, especially when he's drunk like this. And I think that's hilarious. I really do. Oh, is it a time travel movie? I didn't even know that. I don't know, maybe I'll watch that this weekend. Oh, that one. Police don't like having to bother with people that seem threatening. They prefer bothering the good people. Maybe that's the reason they keep fucking with me. Or maybe it's the fact that I have no muffler. I know when I was in Mass, it was dark out, and they did it in the middle of the day one time too, but the Wisconsin plate looks similar enough to the Massachusetts plate. But Wisconsin doesn't have an inspection, so I don't have a sticker in my window. So at a glance, you know, just coming out here in the middle of the day, without running anything, you go up there, you see a vehicle with plates on it, but no sticker. With a white plate with red lettering, just like the Mass plate. And you come up and you say, hey, I noticed you didn't have a sticker up there. The one guy, the first one came up there and said, hey, I noticed you don't have an inspection sticker in your window. What gives? What's going on with that? And I said, this is a Wisconsin license plate, so I don't need to have an inspection sticker. Then he walked back to the back of my truck, and he walked back up, and he said, have a good day, sir. And the second time, it was the middle. That was the one that happened at night. The second time, it was the middle of the day. Like, I went out from school for lunch to go get something to eat off campus. And I just got down away from the school and just far enough away that I was away from all the other crazies that were going the other direction to Norwood. I get down there and I get stopped. The guy comes up and pulls me over. He walks up, he pauses for a second at the back corner of the truck, and he walks back up and comes up to the window. He says, yeah, I pulled you over because you didn't have an inspection sticker, but I saw it was the state identification on your license plate as I came up, so have a good day. No, Ron, it wasn't their job to enforce inspection stickers from another state. They thought that I had a Massachusetts plate. So they thought they were enforcing inspection stickers from their own state. Both times, because it was the same thing. At the time, I had one of the last white license plates with red lettering. In Wisconsin, they're all black lettering now. And Massachusetts had just switched from white plate with green lettering to white plate with red lettering. But yeah, both times they looked at it, they realized they screwed up and they sent me on my way. Alright, we're done. We're out of here. This is a good crowd. We had a lot of good people in here today. Thank you guys. Let's get more. Let's see. Let's do a goal next week. Tell a bunch of your friends throughout the weekend and next week, and maybe we'll throw a game stream up there just so we can get people over on the Twitch and the DLive side. But I want to see if we can get every line in both columns in this notebook filled next week. So we've only got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 7 on the other side. So if you guys get 3 new people in a day, or 4 new people in a day, we'll fill it. All right, we got to get out of here, though. I'm going to make some boiled eggs, and I'm going to go to work. I get a short day today because I stayed too late for the last 2 days. I only have 5 and some change hours, I think, today, don't I? Yeah, I do. No, 6 and some change. Yeah, 6 and 3/4. All right, let's get out of here. All right, so thank you everybody who came by, chatted in the live chat, stayed with us throughout the show here, came by, hung out, had some fun with us here. Check out the Discord, come back out there, go check that out if you're not in there already. It looks like there's going to be some spice in there. I've already been alerted to that here, so I got that while we were watching one of the videos. So go and check that out, come back and join the conversation with me. Join me over on Twitter as well, at Edsblog Twitter. You can come back and hang out with me over there. That is with a 1 in place of the I, by the way. Come and hang out with that. That is going to be a great time. And finish the conversation with me. Otherwise, we'll be back here maybe I'll just do it tonight if I get out of work early enough. But maybe we'll do a game stream this weekend. We'll do some more Fallout 4 because we've got to practice for the upcoming nuclear war. So come back out and hang out for that. Otherwise, we will see you here on Monday with news, headlines from over the weekend over on Contemporary, and Monday night for KTZed Redemption. Definitely looking forward to that as well. Come back and hang out with us for all that. We will be here next time. Come back and hang out there. Stick around if you're on the Twitch side. We're going to go and raid somebody. But otherwise, we will see you next time. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.